Shocking secrets of God's divine bread, what the Bible didn't tell you. Deep in the heart of an old, dusty library sat a weathered book, its leather cover cracked and peeling, holding secrets that had been untouched for centuries. A faint glow surrounded it, illuminating strange symbols that pulsed with an energy unlike anything anyone had ever seen. This was no ordinary book. It was said to contain revelations about the very bread that fed thousands, the miraculous loaves of Christ. What was hidden inside could change everything. As the candle flickered in the dim light, Maria stepped closer. She had heard the whispers among the townsfolk about the ancient bread recipe, one that had been passed down through generations, thought to hold divine properties. It was said that those who consumed it experienced visions, glimpses of the past and future, and even glimpses of heaven itself. But the recipe had been lost, or had it? This library was shrouded in legends, a place where truth and myth intertwined like the roots of the ancient trees outside. The air grew heavy as Maria opened the book, the scent of musty paper mixing with a hint of something sweet and warm bread. The words danced on the pages with a life of their own. "The crumbs of heaven," it read, "shall nourish your soul." A shiver ran down her spine. She glanced around the library, its shelves teeming with darkened volumes, as if they were leaning in to hear what secrets she would uncover. Suddenly, thunder rumbled outside, resonating through the wooden beams like a heartbeat of the earth. "Did you hear that?" A voice snapped her from her trance. It was her friend Jake, peering into the shadows, his brow furrowed with concern. "I don't like this place, Maria. It's got an eerie vibe. Something feels off." She nodded, a lump in her throat. There was a weight to the silence, an unsettling tension that seemed to wrap around them like a tight embrace. Could this bread really be as powerful as it was said to be? And what consequences lay in the path of discovering its secrets? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The book opened further, revealing a hand-drawn map leading to a hidden place known only as the feast. Maria's heart raced. Legend had it that anyone who partook in the feast would not only taste the divine bread but experience revelations that could alter destinies. The town had forgotten the old tales, but she felt their urgency tugging at her soul. "We need to find the feast," she whispered, adrenaline rushing through her veins. Jake's eyes widened, disbelief merging with excitement. "But what if it's just a story?" he countered, laced with hesitation. "Maybe, but what if it's real?" she shot back. They stood at the crossroads between doubt and the allure of the unknown. The clock struck midnight, the echoing chime reverberating ominously as winds picked up, slamming the library doors shut behind them. They were not alone. A figure lurked in the shadows, watching intently, a smile that hinted at both promise and peril. The game was afoot, and the secrets of God's divine bread were desperate to be unearthed. What awaited them in the depths of discovery? Maria felt a chill run down her spine. The figure in the shadows remained still, its presence wrapping around her like a thick fog. "Who are you?" she called out, her voice trembling slightly. The figure stepped forward, revealing an old man with piercing blue eyes and a long, grizzled beard, worn like the pages of the ancient book. "I am the keeper," he said, his voice raspy yet filled with a weight of authority. "And you seek the secrets of the divine bread." Jake took a cautious step back, his instincts on high alert. "We mean no harm," he stammered, glancing nervously at Maria, who appeared entranced by the man. "We're just looking for answers." "Answers come at a price," the keeper replied, a subtle smile creeping onto his lips. "Those who tread this path take on the burden of knowledge. Are you prepared?" Maria swallowed hard, adrenaline surging through her veins. She felt an overwhelming pull toward the old man. What kind of burden? To find the feast, you must first confront your own truths, he warned, raising a gnarled finger. The map you hold, he gestured to the book, will only lead you to your desires or to your doom. It reveals not just the path, but what lies in your hearts. As his words sank in, doubts began to sprout within her. I can't turn back now, Maria whispered, fear and determination battling within her. I need to know. Very well, the keeper said solemnly. But understand that every revelation brings flickering shadows. The truth isn't what you expect. Prepare yourselves, the journey begins at dawn. With that, he turned, vanishing back into the shadows. The library felt more oppressive now, each creak of the floorboards resonating like a countdown. Disbelief flowed through Jake. We can't trust him. He just shows up and gives us riddles. Riddles might be a clue to something larger, Maria insisted, holding the book tightly against her chest. What if he is our only chance? A low rumble echoed, threatening to shake the very foundation of the library. The candles flickered wildly. We should go home, Jake urged, his uncertainty evident. We need to think this through. And what if tomorrow isn't just another day? Maria countered, heart pounding. What if it's the moment we've been waiting for? They stood on the precipice between fear and curiosity, bound by an ancient quest. Outside, the storm raged on, twisting trees into grotesque shapes while raindrops pelted the library windows like frantic messages from the universe. What if we find the feast? Maria whispered, half to herself. What power awaits us? Jake's eyes were wide. That's exactly why we should be careful. You know the stories. What if we unlock something we can't handle? Silence fell between them, heavy and electric, the air taut with expectation. Maria's gaze flicked back to the book, wondering if fate truly lay within its pages. The candlelight danced, casting eerie shadows that resembled clouds of doubt swirling around their heads. As the clock inched closer to dawn, they shared a resolute look. This would not be an ordinary day. Let us rest, Maria said finally, her voice steadying. We'll meet back here at first light. Then we'll decide. They drifted apart, the weight of the unknown pressing on their shoulders. What awaited them at the feast? And who truly was the keeper? In the depths of the library, a shiver of anticipation curled in the corners of the old, dusty tome, whispering secrets yet to be revealed. As Maria lay in bed, the image of the keeper lingered in her mind. What truth would she have to face? In the depths of her heart, she knew there was something primal waiting to be unearthed. Would she be brave enough to confront it? Morning loomed, carrying the promise of revelation and danger. What secrets would the dawn unveil? Dawn crept into the library, light spilling through the windows like a whisper, casting long shadows that danced among the shelves of forgotten books. Maria jolted awake, heart racing, as the echoes of the keeper's words filled her mind. The air was thick with anticipation. Today was the day they would unearth truths, if they dared to tread the perilous path ahead. Jake arrived soon after, his face a canvas of uncertainty. Did you sleep at all? He asked, rubbing sleep from his eyes, trying to mask his dread with a forced smile. Not much, Maria confessed, her voice barely a murmur. I kept thinking about what the keeper said. Do you think we can trust him? His uncertain nod sent ripples of doubt through her. We don't really have a choice, do we? He replied, glancing at the dark clouds still lingering outside. If we want to find the feast, we have to follow the map in the book. The tome lay open on the table between them, pages fluttering as if alive with secrets. A rough sketch sprawled across the old parchment, a labyrinth of twisting paths and ominous symbols. Juxtaposed alongside were crude illustrations that sent chills through her, figures trapped in a web of thorns, faces contorted in anguish. Here, Maria pointed, tracing a line with her finger. This looks like it leads to a cave, and there's something marked here. The ink smudged as she squinted closer. A keyhole? Jake leaned in. Could be a metaphor. Or something worse. What if we're not just looking for the feast but for something hidden? His words hung in the air, a sharp knife cutting through her resolve. Do we really want to unearth it? She hesitated, feeling the weight of dread settle on her shoulders. A loud clap of thunder interrupted their thoughts. The storm stirred outside, sending frantic shadows racing across the walls, mimicking the turmoil within them. Maria closed her eyes tight, pushing the doubts aside. We'll never know unless we try, she said with a conviction that surprised even her. Okay, Jake sighed deeply. But let us be careful. The last thing I want is to open something we can't control. They gathered their things, adrenaline pumping through their veins. As they stepped out into the storm, rain pelted down like a barrage of tiny arrows. Every drop felt like a warning, a reminder of the path they had chosen. As they neared the forest's edge, the trees loomed taller, gnarled branches reaching out like bony fingers. The map led them deeper and deeper into the woods, where the sunlight struggled to break through, shrouding the ground in perpetual twilight. Maria, Jake whispered, pulling her back. Do you feel that? It's like we're being watched. She scanned the thicket, her breath catching in her throat. A pair of glowing eyes blinked from the underbrush, then vanished. Just the storm, she tried to reassure him, but her heart raced. With every step, the atmosphere thickened. They passed stones covered in strange carving symbols eerily similar to those in the book. A chill crept down Maria's spine as she reached out to touch one, but Jake's hand shot out. Don't. What if that's part of the trap? What trap? Maria shot back, uncertainty gnawing at her confidence. What if we miss something crucial? Thunder rumbled again, louder this time, echoing around them like ominous laughter. It wasn't just a storm brewing, it was something far more sinister. Just then, the ground trembled beneath them, and the air crackled with energy. The forest fell eerily quiet, the only sound their breaths quickening. Maria, let us go. Jake shouted, panic rising in his voice, but she hesitated, eyes wide, drawn inexplicably toward the cave mouth in the distance. It felt like they were standing at the edge of a precipice, with the truth waiting below. Together, she finally breathed, heart pounding, needing the reassurance of his presence. Together, he echoed, though uncertainty clouded his gaze. As they stepped toward the cave, dark and forbidding, a haunting sound, a whisper, low and desperate, seemed to float through the air. It felt like a warning. What is that? Jake's voice trembled. But before she could answer, the whisper grew deafening, drowning out reason, calling them both into the abyss. What awaited them in the cave? Would they find enlightenment or destruction? One thing was certain, the answers they sought weren't just waiting, they were hungry. The cave loomed before them, a gaping maw, dark and foreboding. Shadows writhed at the entrance, taunting them, whispering secrets that slithered through the air like serpents. Maria felt a pull, an invisible thread tugging at her heart, urging her forward. Just a little further, she whispered, gripping Jake's hand tightly. His palm felt clammy, the fear palpable. As they crossed into the shade of the cave, the atmosphere thickened like molasses. Each step echoed in the hollow space, a reminder that the weight of their endeavor pressed heavily on their shoulders. The whispers transformed into frantic murmurs, swirling around, entwining with their thoughts, making it hard to distinguish between reality and hallucinations. Did you hear that? Jake hissed, scanning the walls for movement. It's just the wind, she replied, but even she couldn't quiet the rising tide of dread swelling in her chest. Further inside, the cave widened, revealing a cavern adorned with glimmering crystals that protruded from the walls like jagged teeth. They shone faintly, casting eerie shadows that danced in rhythm with the whispers. Maria squinted, straining her eyes to discern the shapes that shifted around them. Look! She said, pointing to markings on the cavern floor, a clear path leading deeper into the cave. Maybe that's where we need to go. Jake didn't move. What if it's a trap? Her heart raced at the thought, but something deep inside urged her onward. We have to, Jake. We can't turn back now. As they followed the path, the air turned colder, wrapping around them like a shroud. Every breath felt labored, filled with a mix of anticipation and dread. Suddenly, any comfort dissipated as another crash of thunder echoed outside, reverberating through the stone walls around them. I hate this place, Jake muttered, trying to mask his fear with bravado. Maria didn't answer. Instead, she glimpsed down the passage ahead, where an opening brightened with an unnatural glow. Shadows flickered within, almost beckoning to her. Do you feel that? She asked, compelled forward, her body tingling with a strange energy. He stood still, rooted to his spot. Maria, we should go back. But the urge to see what lay beyond was intoxicating. She stepped forward, propelled by the urgent need to know. I have to know, she whispered, more to herself than him. As she reached the glowing threshold, dread morphed into an electric thrill. She peeked inside and her breath caught in her throat, a vast chamber illuminated with the light of an otherworldly fire. Silhouettes of long-forgotten figures danced across the walls, their expressions frozen in agony. Maria. Jake's voice snapped her back. Come back. But before she could retreat, the ground shook violently. A roar erupted from the depths of the cavern, shaking stones loose and echoing like a thunderclap. Fear surged anew as she stumbled backward, nearly falling. What the hell was that? Something's not right. We need to leave. Now. Jake shouted, his eyes wide with panic, yet, as if drawn by an unseen force, Maria turned back toward the chamber. The shadows shifted, taking form, revealing themselves as twisted faces from the past. They were seeking something, someone. What do you want? She stammered, a lump forming in her throat. The air thickened again, the whispers rising angrily. The feast must be prepared, they cried in unison, their voices melding into a haunting chorus that filled the cave like a storm of despair. Suddenly, the walls trembled, stones cracking, and the earth beneath them groaned. With another echoing roar, the shadows lunged toward her, reaching out as though to drag her into the depths. Maria. Jake's voice sliced through the chaos, pulling her back to reality. But was there still time to escape, or had they awakened something that could never be silenced? As the darkness closed in, she caught sight of a glimmering object at her feet, an ancient key etched with the same symbols from the book. This could be their lifeline, or their doom. Would they take the risk to understand what it unlocked, or were they about to step into a darkness from which there was no return? The air trembled with potential, and just as Maria bent to grab it, shadows surged, howling with rage, ready to envelop them both. The choice lay before them, but the cost, what would it be? What were they about to unleash? The horror was far from over. The key shimmered, a bewitching lure glinting in the dim light. Maria's fingers brushed against its cold surface, sending a shiver up her spine. Shadows churned around them, whispering in a frenzy, the urgency pounding in her ears like a war drum. Maria, no. Jake's voice, laced with fear, echoed, but the world beyond felt like a distant memory. She opened her palm, cradling the key like a precious gemstone, the air thickening around them. Tell me what you want. Maria shouted defiantly at the faces flitting in the shadows. They morphed, sometimes looking familiar, sometimes grotesque, a whirlwind of the lost, the forgotten. Unlock us, the message, the truth. They howled as one, their voices colliding in a cacophony that reverberated through the cavern. Unlock what? Maria's breath quickened, her mind racing. They needed answers, but her heart fluttered wildly with every echoing glimmer from the key. Would using it help, or would it unleash the very apocalypse they feared? We can't stay here. Jake yelled, panic spilling over, cutting through the rising tide of whispers. He grabbed her elbow, trying to pull her back toward the exit. But the moment they began to retreat, the air grew heavier, almost tangible, pressing down on them like an iron weight. The shadows howled even louder, swirling in on themselves, forming a vortex of anguished faces all screaming her name. Maria. Jake's grip tightened, his knuckles widening as he strained against the primal instinct to flee. With one desperate glance back, she felt the heat of the otherworldly fire creeping toward her, beckoning with warmth and chaos. What if this is our way out? She stammered, uncertainty dripping from her voice. No. It's madness. It'll eat us alive. Maria's heart raced even faster, caught between Jake's urgency and the key's seductive glow. The ancient symbols wrapped around it felt like alive tendrils, whispering directly to her soul. What if there are answers here? What if this was meant for us? The cacophony reached a fevered pitch, drowning out her thoughts, urging her to act. The ground trembled again, a menacing growl coming from deep within the earth. She couldn't tell if it was her imagination or if the cave itself threatened to collapse around them. I'm going to use it, she decided, determination hardening her resolve. If we don't, what's left for us? Just fear and darkness? No. Maria, please. Jake's eyes widened with horror, desperation bleeding into his voice. Before he could stop her, Maria shifted forward, the key poised to slot into an unseen lock hidden somewhere within the chaos of twisted shadows. The moment she found the threshold, the very air crackled with tension. Unlock, the voices whispered again, more fervently now, promising safety and knowledge, begging and demanding all the same. With her heart in her throat, Maria plunged the key into a crevice in the cavern wall, the air surging with electric anticipation. Suddenly, the shadows froze. A silence hung in the air, thick and oppressive, as everything seemed to hold its breath. The ground beneath her feet started to glow, pulsating with a light that felt alive, wrapping around her like an embrace. Maria, what did you do? Jake's voice slipped into a terrified whisper, the vibrancy of panic draining from his expression, and then, a blinding flash consumed the darkness as a deep rumbling echoed through the chamber. The shadows writhed violently, no longer just shapes, now they were angry spirits, full of wrath and purpose, spinning toward them with a force that felt indifferent to their plight. Run! Now! Maria screamed, adrenaline carving her words into the air. But where to run when the darkness meant to swallow them whole? The walls seemed to shift, tightening around them, the light now blinding. Had the act of unlocking unleashed more than they bargained for? The shadows surged forward, howling with vengeance as the chamber erupted into chaos once more. In that heart-stopping moment, Maria realized they had awakened something ancient, and it was hungry. What darkness waited beyond the veil they had just torn? Would the price for knowledge be their very souls? The ground shook violently beneath them, each tremor rumbling like the growls of a slumbering beast. Maria's heart raced in her chest as she felt the oppressive heat of the shadows closing in. They weren't just dark shapes anymore, they surged toward her with an intention, a hunger that clawed at the edges of her sanity. Get back, Jake! She shouted over the cacophony, her voice cracking under the weight of fear. They were trapped, caught between the forces of the unknown. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, but the key pulsed in her hand, demanding to be recognized, to be feared. The shadows whipped around her, eager fingers brushing her arms and shoulders, digging into her flesh with icy grip. Time seemed to stretch as she peered into the depths of their faces, eyes wide with despair, mouths twisted into silent cries. Each was a story, a warning, a plea for release. They were former souls, lost and trapped here for eternity. What have I done? Maria gasped, her breath hitching as she caught sight of a shadowy figure shifting at the periphery of her vision. It was taller than the rest, more powerful, its presence swamping the space like a dark tide. She felt Jake's grip tighten on her arm, yanking her back as he dragged her toward the only exit that allowed a sliver of hope. We need to go. Now. He pleaded, desperation etched across his face. You don't understand, Maria protested, but the shadows roared back, driving her words into silence. The figure emerged from the mass, a face formulating from the smoke, its features painfully familiar yet twisted beyond recognition. "Maria," it whispered, a voice that echoed like a bell tolling in the night. "You have a choice. Unlock the truth. Help us. Or face the darkness with your own heart." Her breath caught in her throat. The weight of the shadows grew heavier, an anchor pulling her deeper into their world. They were begging for release, and yet the terror of that choice sent waves of doubt crashing over her. "Don't listen!" Jake shouted, terror lacing his words. His eyes darted between the towering figure and Maria, pleading for her to see the danger. "It's a lie, don't you understand?" But the truth felt thicker than any fear, clearer than any warning. "What truth?" Maria asked, her voice barely a whisper against the rising tide. "What do you mean?" The shadow figure reached out a misty hand. "The forgotten weight. They knew secrets lost to time. Only through the key can wisdom flourish, only through understanding can you set me free." Shivers raced down Maria's spine. The key in her hand felt alive, thrumming against her skin, urging her to act. Was this the moment she would choose to unlock the chaos even further? But would that truly be understanding? "No!" Jake shouted again, pulling her back, the desperation evident in his voice. "If you listen to them, they'll take you. They'll swallow us whole." The shadows shrieked, seeming to grow even darker, a monsoon of anguished souls. The pressure in the chamber sank deeper, and a cold sweat coated Maria's skin as she fought against the pull of the key. "Jake, wait! What if they can help us?" That was when the ground quaked violently again, sending both of them stumbling. Maria looked down and saw cracks splitting through the earth, dark energy spilling out like ink, threatening to engulf them both. "It's too late to go back," cried Jake, glancing nervously at the fissures. "Make a decision. Now." Time seemed to stall as the shadows danced, whispering promises of truths hidden in centuries of pain, torment, and lost loves. Maria felt torn, her heart racing as whispers called her name. Would she dare grant the shadows their chance at salvation? Or would she follow her instincts and flee from this madness before it consumed them both? Before she could answer, the shadows surged forward with furious intensity, the world around them spinning into chaos. "Choose!" they yelled, their voices merging into a single terrifying roar that pierced through the air. The ground began to crack wider, swallowing her doubt along with the earth. Maria realized she had only moments left. And then she knew the answer awaited, but at what price? What secrets lay in the depths of the shadows? Would accepting them mean losing herself forever? The shadows lunged, a wave of darkness ready to pull them under. Maria's mind raced, drowning in fear and confusion. The figure's face morphed in her vision, shifting from a familiar visage to something monstrous, yet an echo of love lingered beneath the surface. "Don't do it!" Jake yelled, pulling her again, but her feet felt glued to the ground. The power of the key pulsed painfully in her grip, whispering promises of understanding. What did it mean to unlock the truth? Was it worth the risk, worth the price? In that heartbeat, she made her choice. I will help you," Maria cried, her voice barely making it through the cacophony of hungry shadows. She raised the key, her heart pounding against her ribcage like a trapped bird. The shadows coiled around her, retreating just a fraction, as if sensing her resolve. "Unlock it," the figure urged, its voice gaining clarity. "Set me free, Maria. Your heart holds the key to the forgotten." A crack opened in the ground beside her as the shadows shifted, revealing twisted, ghostly images, memories of lives crushed and dreams shattered. Each soul hovered, their hollow forms imploring her, yet a shroud of darkness threaded through each one, hinting at their hidden secrets. "Do you know what you're doing?" Jake shouted, panic edging his tone. "You don't know what will happen if you let them in." "No," Maria retorted, frustration boiling over as fear and agony reflected in his eyes. I need to know. I can't keep running from this, from them. With all the strength she could muster, she pressed the key against the darkness. It glowed, illuminating the symbols etched along its surface. The shadows recoiled, a ripple of shock coursing through the mass as if they feared the light. Suddenly, the ground beneath them roared with a deep, rumbling growl, its anger rising as they witnessed the fissures growing wider, tendrils of shadow curling out like greedy hands. All the while, the figure reached toward her, its misty fingers brushing against her arm. Remember us, it whispered, an intimate plea that sank deep into her heart. The key pulsed with an urgency that felt alive, eager to unlock memories hidden in the dark fabric of time itself. Did it want her to delve into their past? Was she truly ready for that? Maria's breath caught in her throat. She made a choice to plunge deeper. I will remember you, she shouted, feeling a flicker of light ignite within. As the key touched the shadows, a blinding light exploded outward, cascading around her like a shield. The screams of anguish morphed into cries of joy and sorrow, intertwining in a beautiful chaos, a testament to their long-forgotten lives. But then, without warning, the rushing shadows surged forward. They were no longer silent specters but screaming souls, their pain a symphony of despair that rattled the very ground beneath them. The warmth of revelation turned cold as dread wrapped tighter around her heart. Jake! Maria turned to him, her voice breaking, panic surging once more. He was swallowed by shadows, his arms outstretched, grasping for anything to anchor him in the storm of chaotic energy. The fissures deepened, and writhing tendrils of darkness grabbed mercilessly at his ankles. Maria, please! He sputtered desperately, eyes wide with fear. You have to stop this. But even in her gut, she felt the air crackle with anticipation. The answer was just beyond her grasp, begging to be revealed, even as the shadows threatened to consume everything in their path. Join us! The figure cried, anguish mixing with hope. Together we can amend our fate. The rooms echoed with madness, the shadows tightening like a vice, and Maria realized the stakes had escalated. To remember them meant risking everything, perhaps even losing herself to their despair. What will I have to face? She whispered to herself, the tension mounting in the air. As the world around them buckled in tumult, Maria knew there would be no easy escape. The choice lay before her, a path illuminated by the darkest truths. Would she dive into this darkness to uncover the secrets of those they had left behind? Or would she risk every shred of hope to save Jake from the grasp of oblivion? Maria! A voice cried, loved and trapped, as shadows reached for her heart. The question hung heavy in the air, how much darkness was she willing to contain? The light enveloped them, but it was no comforting halo. It flickered and danced like a fragile candle in a storm. Maria felt the shadows pulsating, feeding on her fear, ready to reclaim their victims. Jake's terrified eyes bore into hers, a plea hanging unspoken between them. Maria! He cried again, the desperation in his voice piercing through the tumult. The figure before her transformed, shadows swirling around it like a cloak of both torment and intimacy. Memories surged through Maria, flashes of laughter, tears, and sorrow intertwined with joy. Each image was a ghost begging for release, demanding to be seen. Her heart raced like a drum, every beat echoing the weight of their history. Will you truly remember us, Maria? The figure whispered, its voice a blend of longing and despair. Will you carry our burden? For an instant, the shadows hesitated, as if gauging her resolve. She felt the pull, a magnetic force drawing her toward those tortured souls. Just let me help, she shouted, pushing her way through the swarm of mournful cries. Her feet remained rooted, yet the desire to save Jake pulled her forward like a lifeline. Do not abandon your light, the figure urged, desperation lacing its words. Remember us, but do not lose yourself in the darkness. The ground shook violently, and the fissures spread like veins through the earth, seeping shadows that reached for her. The shadows howled louder, drowning her senses in despair. Each scream twisted her insides, knotted her thoughts. Jake clawed at the darkness, his fingers slipping as the shadows absorbed him inch by inch. No! She lunged forward, the key clutched tightly in her hand. Then, in a moment of clarity, Maria focused on the memories swirling around her. She closed her eyes and whispered the names of the forgotten, the faces ephemeral yet vivid in the depths of her mind. With every invocation, a flicker of light fought against the encroaching darkness, pushing back like the first rays of dawn against nightfall. Enough! She yelled, and the key in her hand ignited with radiant energy. Gold and azure light burst forth from its tip, cutting through the darkness with a fierce determination she never knew she possessed. The figure smiled, hope washing over its tortured face, as the dark shadows writhed and howled in fury. You cannot let it overwhelm you, Maria. It cried as the burgeoning light began pulling shadows into its embrace. You must face the truth of who we were. The lies woven through the shadows began to unravel, each whisper becoming clearer, more tangible. Fractal visions of betrayal and love, sorrow and friendship conspired to form a tapestry of lives not yet lived. Jake! She shouted, wanting to reach for him, but the shadows were relentless. They looped around him like chains, holding him down as he struggled, spectral fingers dragging him further into their depths. Maria, please! He gasped, the terror in his voice cutting her deeply. You have to fight them. Don't lose yourself. Fight. Every fiber of her being trembled. Could she really face this? Could she contain the rage and longing of the forgotten while also saving Jake? Panic flared, tightened her throat. For a moment, she faltered, consumed by doubt, but then she realized, the power hummed within her. The key represented not just her fear, but her will to break free from the burdens of the past. I refuse to be afraid. She cried, her voice rising like a battle cry. With a fierce thrust, she plunged the key deeper into the shadows. Light burst out in all directions, illuminating the despairing faces around her. The shadows recoiled, screams shifting to gasps, surprise rippling through the dark like a ripple through water. And then, she saw them, the shattered memories choosing to mold into something new. The way forward began to reveal itself amid chaos. But just as victory seemed within reach, darkness surged again, clawing back with a renewed fury. The fissures beneath them widened as the ground trembled with ominous intent. A familiar chill crept down her spine. The light was faltering just as hope glimmered closer. Maria. Jake's voice wavered on the edge of despair. Don't let this end here. With a surge of defiance, Maria faced both the shadows and the figure. I'll do what it takes. She shouted, heart racing, spirit rekindled, but the fear loomed larger than she had anticipated, and as the maelstrom spun around her, a question echoed in her mind: what would she have to sacrifice to truly set them all free? The shadows lunged again, more powerful, more ravenous. A choice loomed ahead, and she could feel it pull her in every direction at once, leaving only uncertainty in its wake. The shadows surged around her with a furious howl, a dark tide that threatened to engulf everything. The ground trembled, fissures opening wider, and the shadows clamored for her. They were alive with voices that called out, each one more desperate than the last, weaving tales of pain, loss, and betrayal. Maria. Remember us. A cacophony of whispers pressed in on her. Each shriek was a weight pressing down hard on her chest, and regret filled the air like a thick fog, stinging her eyes. The tremor of fear laced through her body, and doubt clawed at her resolve. Fight, Maria. Jake's anguished cry pulled her back. The urgency in his voice sparked a flicker of fire within her. She couldn't let herself break, not now. She focused on the light, willing it to expand, to flood the darkness that threatened to suffocate them both. She tightened her grip on the key, knowing it was the anchor to her hope. I will not be lost. She roared, and the words echoed in the chasm of shadows, creating ripples in the air. Then, she remembered what brought them here: the laughter, the shared moments. It was time to reclaim those memories. Drawing a deep breath, she began to chant the names of those who lived within the depths of the shadows, her voice rising above the shrieks. Each name summoned a fragment of light, sparking like fireflies in the gloom. Caleb. Lisa. Aunt Mia, she cried out, and with each invocation, a fierce glow pushed against the surrounding shadows. Their faces appeared momentarily, glowing with a warmth that settled over Maria like a comforting blanket. The darkness retreated a fraction, but it wasn't enough. You think you can defeat us with names? The figure sneered, its form twisting dangerously. It was shifting, a vortex of anguish and rage that threatened to break free from the confines of the shadows. I can, and I will, Maria countered, her voice steady. You will not take him from me. The energy around her seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat, and she could feel the remnants of the forgotten rallying behind her, a surge of collective strength joining her spirit. Together, they formed a wall of light, pushing back the encroaching darkness, but Jake was still chained within that dark embrace, his face twisted in agony. Maria. You need. His voice cut off abruptly, replaced by a chilling silence that choked the air. Jake! She screamed, her heart racing as she realized he was losing hope. In that moment, fear wrestled fiercely with determination in her soul. No! She shouted against the oppressive waves of uncertainty. She had to make a choice. The shadows twisted violently as they closed in on him, but the illumination from the key flickered, a beacon fighting against the darkness. Stop! She shouted with renewed vigor. I want to let you take him. With one final surge, she raised the key high above her head, letting the light stream from her heart into it. You will be remembered, but you cannot control me. The brilliance erupted like a supernova, cascading in vibrant colors against the shadows. The figure howled in rage, the unbearable sound ripping through her, but Maria stood firm. She focused all her thoughts on Jake, drawing him back from the brink. She could feel the shadows struggling, their malevolence battling against the brilliance of her determination. But then, in an unexpected counter, the shadows formed into tendrils and shot straight toward her, wrapping around her wrists and waist, pulling her toward the depths. Join us. There is freedom here. They hissed, the voice now seductive, promising release from all pain. The temptation was unbearable. Closing her eyes, Maria felt the coils squeeze tighter, her heart pounding in her chest. Every fiber of her being screamed for her to let go, to embrace the shadows and forget the fight. But a deep breath recalled her purpose. No. I am not your prisoner. A surge of defiance exploded within her. You want to win. In that instant, she remembered, to save Jake, she must also save herself. The flourish of resolve leapt into action, her light blending with Jake's desperation, combining their strength. But what would it cost them? As the shadows writhed one last time, the true depth of her sacrifice loomed before her. Maria. Whatever you choose, don't lose. Jake's voice broke through again, but was drowned in the tumult surrounding them. What lay on the other side of this battle? Could she hold on to the light without becoming part of the darkness? With the world swirling around her in chaos, she prepared to make her ultimate choice. The shadows surged, wild and furious, clawing at Maria's very essence. A storm whipped around her, dark tendrils seeking to spiral her deeper into despair. She felt the temptation pull her closer, the promises of freedom beckoning like a siren's call. Join us. They hissed, voices intermingling with the echoes of her fears. There is no pain in the dark. Only rest. The pressure closed in, squeezing her chest tight, but deeper still, the fire of defiance ignited within her. The faces of the forgotten swirled around her, faces she had fought for, names she had called upon, and she remembered the warmth of shared laughter, love that transcended despair. No, she shouted defiantly, her voice cutting through the chaos. I want to lose myself. Not to you. In that moment of clarity, Maria closed her eyes and envisioned Jake. I need you, she whispered into the storm. She felt his presence, his strength mingling with hers as they fought against the shadows. Together, she breathed, the word wrapping around her like armor. With renewed determination, she grasped the key tight. Its glow pulsed, matching the thrum of her heartbeat, unraveling the fear that clawed at her. With each breath, she summoned the memories of love, hope, and resilience, letting them surge forth like a wave against the tempest. "Jake, hold on." She felt energized, knowing she had the power to break the cycle. The shadows recoiled momentarily, as if sensing the return of strength that threatened to drown them out. "No! You cannot escape!" The figure roared, its voice echoing like thunder. But Maria had stepped into her own light, and the shift was tangible. "Watch me!" she cried, plunging the key into the ground beneath her. Light erupted around them, transforming the cavern into a vibrant tapestry of colors as the shadows writhed. But in their retreat, Maria saw Jake struggling, trapped in the depths of darkness, hands clawing toward her. "Maria!" he shouted, fear etching his features, and her heart wrenched. They were tethered by hope, a binding that could overcome the despair that surrounded them. "Jake, trust me. Believe in us." Her voice resonated, harnessing every ounce of love she felt, binding them against the tide of anguish. With fierce agitation, the ground heaved beneath them, the cracks widening, threatening to engulf them. Shadows seethed, howls of rage filling the air, desperate to reclaim their prize. "Together!" she called once more, raising the key high, feeling its power surge beneath her fingers. "I will set you free." As she plunged the key into the earth with a defiant cry, a blinding wave of warmth spread through the cavern, the shadows recoiling violently, chaos erupting all around as the light consumed them. The spirits began to shift back into the golden glow of their true selves, the figures of forgotten souls, now illuminated in their purity. "Remember us. Set us free." They begged, trembling on the edge between darkness and light, eyes wide with anticipation. Maria focused on the essence of the first name she spoke aloud. "Caleb." And felt the room shift as a piece of the darkness fell away. "Lisa." She called again, and a wave of light pulsed from the key, swallowing another fragment of shadow. One by one, the names flowed from her lips, each name a thread of connection, drawing from the wealth of despair that had bound them so fiercely. The shadows cried out, thrashing wildly, but she pressed on, unwavering. "Aunt Mia." Lights burst forth, illuminating the cavern, revealing the essence of those trapped within the shadows, breaking chains that had long held them captive. In the flash of each name, she felt a piece of the past lift, a weight she had shared release into the air like fireworks of hope. And with each soul remembered, she felt Jake's spirit brighten in response. The shadows grew weaker, fading under the onslaught of collective love rising against despair. "Fight, Maria," he urged, his voice cracking but still filled with strength. "Don't let it pull you back." The tortured figure raged, its form flickering dangerously, but Maria centered herself. Understanding at last, it wasn't just about freeing the lost, it was about salvation for both of them. "I fight for them," she shouted back, her voice a clarion, echoing in defiance against the chaos. "I fight for us." With one last surge of will, another wave of names flowed forth. Sarah. David. Grandma. Grandpa. Each name transformed the dark energy surrounding them into luminescence, until she felt their presence surround her, guiding and supporting her. The shadows howled in fury, the noise mounting into a cacophony that threatened to crush her spirit, but she pressed on. The light from the key expanded, wrapping around Jake, pulling him toward her as the shadows recoiled. "Together," she echoed, focusing on the power of their shared journey, every challenge they had faced. Soon, she watched in awe as Jake began to rise, pulled from the grip of shadows, light illuminating his form. "You can get out. You can do it." With one last cry, the shadows shrieked, a swirling tempest of rage and sorrow battling against the brilliance of their love. The fissures of despair cracked wide, and Maria held firm, emboldened. In that thrilling moment, with everything at stake, the light revealed the culmination of their journey. "Remember us!" The spirits cried, their voices intertwining beautifully with the heartbeat of hope. The air exploded into a shower of verdant brilliance, illuminating the darkness, banishing it to the farthest reaches of memory. As the forgotten figures began to rematerialize into ethereal, glowing silhouettes, she felt the shadows beneath her feet dissolve. Then came a resounding silence, a calm that flooded their hearts, washing away the remnants of pain and suffering. "Maria?" Jake's voice pulled her from the haze of light, holding her steady. She turned to him, relief washing over her like cool rain. "We did it. Together," she gasped, breathless. And in that moment, the cavern transformed, no longer a prison but a sanctuary. The walls brightened, dazzling crystals glimmering like stars in the night, now free from the chains that had bound them. As the last remnants of darkness retreated, Maria felt the spirits flow around her, lighter now, truly free for the first time, encasing them both in a cocoon of warmth and love. The figures began to dissipate, but not before whispering final words, an echo of gratitude that resonated in her heart. "You have broken the cycle, and now, we can remember." "Maria." Jake threaded his fingers through hers, a relieved smile breaking across his face. "You're amazing." "Thanks to you, we did it together," she replied, overwhelmed by the connection they shared. The chamber glowed in soft hues, their breaths mingling with the remnants of love that filled the space. They stepped forward, both changed yet stronger, hope glimmering in their chests, a bright promise of reunion with the light. As they emerged from the cave, the first rays of dawn peeked through, painting the sky with hues of gold and crimson, ushering in a new day brimming with possibility. "Where do we go now?" Jake asked, a hint of uncertainty still lingering in his voice. "Wherever the journey takes us," Maria replied, a smile spreading across her face. "Together." And as they stepped into the light, leaving behind the echoes of the past, they knew one thing for sure: they were never alone. Their hearts were woven with hope, bathed in the light of a new beginning, ready to embrace whatever came next. Now, it was time to spread the wisdom they had gained and share this powerful tale. You need to subscribe right now for more exclusive content that dives deeper into stories that matter. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm. Don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And please, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformative conclusion. Don't wait even one more second, join the conversation.